one. Hey everybody, we got a dandy for you on the Rainmaker podcast. We got my man Tyler Sagal who's going to be teaching you guys how you can end dial day. Tyler, my man, it's great to connect with you. How you doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. How are you?
And I'm doing fantastic. And I'm super excited about hopping in and kind of sharing your story. So without further ado, let's go ahead and pop right in. So, how did you get into the life insurance business in the first place?
Yeah, so it's weird kind of how it all played out, but I got originally got into the business. It's actually through my parents' financial planner. She works with a pretty well-known company. She's been in life and health insurance for the last 4 decades. And just honestly growing up, I always saw her, you know, come over, talk to my parents. I really didn't know what she did exactly. Um, But it was weird. I always looked up to her, even just being very, very young. I always saw kind of the impact she had on my parents, the respect my parents had for her, and she was just such a sweet soul. I mean, she's still here, but she's amazing. But once I kind of dropped out of college, I didn't finish college, but I was kind of looking for something else, and I knew my personality and my type of work ethic, I really wanted to be independent. I wanted to be able to run my own schedule, do as I need to do it, and just not be, an employee of somebody else. I wanted that freedom. And I knew that, the life and health insurance industry can do that for people, especially if you're in the right vehicle. So she kind of urged me. She's like, "Hey, you should get your life and health insurance license and just get exposed to this industry and get into it and just see what it's about." So I got licensed about 5 years ago. So I've been selling life insurance for the last 5 years.
Yeah, gotcha. And so, what you originally here in Nashville? Am I correct?
Yeah, originally from Wisconsin. Family moved to Nashville in 2017, and
Okay.
then
And
yeah,
then
and then I
you moved.
went back to us. Yeah, I went to Wisconsin for about 3 years, where I was originally from, and then back to Nashville and out to Kansas City.
Yeah, and I think if I'm not correct, you moved for a specific reason, right? You moved from Nashville to Kansas City for like mailers or something like that. Would you kind of be elaborate on that?
Yeah, there was just at that time there was a surplus of direct mail, BPLs, a lot of different areas, Kansas City, and then up to Omaha, Iowa area, down to Arkansas. So, at that time, that's how we built our business. It's off direct mail, and then saw an opportunity, jumped on it, went out here, and been here for the last 3 years. So that's kind of what brought us out here.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess that's the rising cost of mailers. I guess upwards to how much were you investing in your business to kind of grow it with that program per week, man?
I mean, if we're just talking the direct mail, I mean, we had a good amount, but I was probably in the ballpark of 3 to 5 thousand a week or so.
Mm,
And as the cost kind of went up, it obviously got a little bit more, but at that point we were still, still profitable, still making it work. But just we were doing a lot of in person, so a lot of traveling, which, switching to full telesales and actually having a plan to attack it is an absolute game changer. Um,
yeah, for sure.
so yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I want to get into in a second. But I was curious on, how did you come across AJC?
So one of my good buddies, Connor Destash was in, and he was having some success as well. And then obviously Todd Houseberger, at the Hall of Fame dinner, got a chance to talk with him, and then he pointed directly to you, and glad to meet you. Then I was actually just talking to my wife the other night. I'm like, we were sitting behind talking to Pastor Matthew for a bit, and everyone kind of cleared out, and I was sitting there with talking to the pastor for like 15, 20 minutes. And as we walked out, I noticed like you and Todd were just sitting there. Like we were like the only ones in the stadium at that point, I swear.
Yeah.
And like, thank God, we ended up talking, get to, shake hands, eye to eye, meet each other. And then I think a week later, literally I started with you.
Yeah, I remember that too. Now that you say that, because Todd Houseberger, shout out to Todd, man. He is man. I just can't say enough good things about him, because he invited me. He was like, "Hey, man, I got a +1." Well, I actually asked him, and he was like, "Yeah, I got a +1, but don't try to pitch anybody." And I was like, "No, man, I'm just coming to kind of connect." And when I got there, he was like, "Hey, man, you should. Here's Arturo. He's been helping me out with my leads and everything. You should check it out." And so we were just standing there, just kind of having a conversation, because Todd lives one exit up from me, and so we were just kind of shooting the breeze, and then boom, you were kind of there too, which is pretty cool, because that event was absolutely amazing. That's probably one of the best events that I've been to in the insurance business, just from the energy, presentation, the speakers, and the level of success. It was like dynamite in that stadium, which was absolutely amazing. So us getting a chance to connect was absolutely amazing. Now, I guess the thing I want to transition into is just asking you about, when did you fully go all in on the telesales things? Because a lot of guys, even some of them in our program, the last thing that even when they decide to join, they just can't let go of the mailers, man. So kind of walk me through your thought process, and why, looking back now, as we talk about some of your results, why you decided to kind of make the shift, and how you were able to do that.
Yeah. So before, when I was, so basically about a year ago, about a year ago is when I first started going full telesales. And I was doing full telesales on, Facebook final expense vendors, obviously BPL mortgage. But what I started to notice was I wasn't getting enough volume, to do travel trips, because it was crazy. Like 2, 3 years ago, you could sit there for 2, 3 weeks and let 40, 50 mailers build up, and then take a trip out there and go help a bunch of people, right? But what I started to notice is, it just got a lot more competitive. A lot more companies are mailing out. A lot of different people are hitting these, mortgage leads, if you will, quicker. So the only way to adapt to that and actually stay in business, if you will, is to do telesales. And the other thing too is, like, if you have, mail coming in from 4 or 5 different areas, you can't physically drive to all these different places, especially when they're, several hours apart. You can't just be driving around doing that. It's a waste of time. And also you're losing money in a sense right there. So I saw the efficiency of telesales. But what I really lacked was structure, systems, automation, right? That's what, from your program, it makes sense. Because before, I was honestly, I was a little nervous. I'm like, this, if we keep doing it at this rate, this is not sustainable, and this is going to go away. We
Mm.
can't keep doing this. And I could kind of feel it. I could feel like it was going okay, but then it started to kind of like peel back, and I'm like, it's not a good feeling, right? Um, but to go really all in on, this, it was really last month, when I kind of flipped the switch and was like, no,
Yeah.
let's do this.
Yeah, for sure. And this is one that I'm really excited about, because I know we were kind of on and off, pause, thinking about quitting a lot. And so it's one of those things where, because I want to be able to share that transparency, because I know there'll be some agents that think the same thing, or have thought the same thing, where they're like, I want to quit, or I want to kind of pause and not get to this point that we're going to kind of talk through. So, what was it like, man? And what ultimately kept you in to this point?
Honestly, Todd, seen Todd crush it, Jerry, Adam Yetter, Connor. I know it works, and I'm in that Discord with all those guys, and I just see the numbers that they're putting up, and I know the leads they're running, right? You can hop on that Zoom and listen to them close and talk to these clients, and I'm like, there's no different. But it was just kind of looking myself in the mirror and be like, no, you need to give this thing a real shot and actually try, because before it was kind of like half in, half out, still handling some other stuff and thinking about that, doing this. And I just wasn't jumping all in on it. Right. But also, what I, it always, even just being in the industry long enough, 5 years, I mean, it feels like it's been forever, but I've seen agents fail and I've seen agents win. And I know like one of the biggest factors for agents failing in this business is one, you're not putting enough cash in to actually give yourself a fighting chance, right? If you come in spending $200 a week in leads versus the guy that spends 1,000, the guy that spends 1,000 is always going to write more, or 95% of the time will write more consistently, right? So that was a big thing for me was no, like I need to do this and do what these other guys are doing that are writing 40, 50 a month. If you want to get to that result, you got to kind of put this in to get that result. um, so that's the big thing right there, man.
Yeah, for sure. And having a support system, because I think Jack mentioned, your wife being very supportive of you and she believing in you. So I know, you probably had to have a conversation with her, and then she's like, you're thinking about quitting. And so, has that helped you as well, sticking with the program and everything?
Shout out Catherine. Yeah, she she was definitely the one that was like, you got to give this a shot. Like you're you know how to sell insurance, you know how to navigate, you know how to deal with these carriers, these products. Like you're really good at that. But even she was like, because I saw glimpses of it, man, in the beginning. Even when I wasn't having the success I wanted to be having, I saw glimpses of like, oh, this is something new. Like I've never learned about this kind of stuff. I've never done it. Where you can just have you're driving home and you get a text message about an appointment that just got booked, and you weren't even like dialing the phone, or you didn't manually send the text out. It just popped up on your calendar, right? Like to me, that I'm like, that makes complete sense. But also the drip, the automations, things like that. She kind of heard my excitement about that because that was very new to us. We were foreign to that, and and I had a little bit of success in the beginning. Saw some, had your lay downs, help people that you just talk to them and they want to, they're ready to sign up, if you will, because they're quality leads. And here's the other thing too, man, is like insurance, like any insurance lead is a lead, right? But there
Mhm.
also is a difference between a higher intent lead that is getting that that's coming directly to you, right? And they know what it's about. There's no confusion. To me, I appreciate that a lot about what you have going on, um, interested clients. So it was definitely big with her, just kind of being like, no, if you're going to do this, do what some of these other guys are doing that are actually having success and writing the volume that you have to write to make this work in this business. But like, give it another shot at the level they're doing. And if that doesn't work, okay, then let's take a step back and reevaluate. But
Yeah.
if you can do what they're doing and actually show up and work when it's time to work, and you still don't make it happen, either you're just not good, or two, maybe you should do something else. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what
100%.
happened.
And your wife's name is Catherine?
Yeah.
Catherine, we're going to give her being the MVP. And the reason why that's
Boom.
important is because, and I know that I was like, well, tell me about the numbers. Tell me about the numbers. And we'll get to it in just 1 second. But I want to talk about one other thing because Derek Tate mentioned this one time is knowing what your expenses are going to be, right? Having a fixed expense. And I hadn't thought about that. Right, so the agent out there that's got the QR code 20% over here, got their bank account over here, got their card on this thing over here, like you said, with all those mailers in. Like at the end of the day, if you don't know how much your expenses is, it's really hard to calculate your profit in the business. And a lot of agents are making money in this business, but a lot of them aren't profitable. So what's it like to know exactly what your fixed cost is going to be for leads every single month? How does that affect your business?
It it affects big time. And I think for me, it's more mentally, I have more peace knowing this is how much you're going to spend each month, on this program. Here's what you can expect from that lead spend. Here's how many leads you're going to get. You can even go down to the lead cost, but I don't even think about it in that much of depth, just because I trust you guys and you guys run that side of things. But um, it's a good feeling, and we still have, some mortgage coming in. I'm still doing some of that, but it's not anywhere near the percentage of my business that it used to be, right? So knowing that lead spend each week, non-negotiable. Here's what it is. Here's what's coming out. It's a lot better knowing versus it used to be like you'd get $2,000 in a night, and then 600 that night, and then 1,000 here, 800 there, and you just never knew, which is really hard to gauge it. Where this, after doing it for at this level for a month, I'm like, okay, I know what I'm walking into. I know what I can expect this week. And it's more predictable, man. Which, like you always talk about, man, if you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. And
Yes.
this, if you don't, yeah. So appreciate
Yeah,
that.
for sure. So you got some numbers and some stuff on the board behind you, man. What is that?
Yeah. So those are basically when I started really tracking it. I just put those are clients that approved and issued. Like I said
Mm.
before we got on this call, I obviously ran out of room there, and that just started to get sloppy. So I put all on a spreadsheet now. But I like to be able to see, when people are issuing, drafting. That way, I can make sure it's sticking and drafting, and making sure I retain the business because that's one thing I really started to do too. Even just learn from some of the stuff that you guys talk about. I mean, it doesn't matter if you write a bunch of business if it all falls off, right?
Right. Yeah,
Stuff
and
has
that's
to stick.
you mentioned that because a lot of agents too think with the telesales thing that you're going to be having a lot of chargebacks and like all of this stuff too. But it really comes into the quality of the people that you're talking with, right? People that can actually afford. And if I'm looking at some of these numbers, I can't see it, but a lot of those are 4 digits, right? Or mid 4 digits, 1 6 1 5. So it's saying that it doesn't look like these people have that government card.
Right.
Dealing with that government card for 50, $60. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm. Yeah,
So what's
I don't know
yeah.
average premium, but I mean, I would probably say it's probably between 100, 140, 150 a month. I mean, but it's these people actually want help. And I mean, yes, you have I mean, just like anything, you have your highs, your lower ones and your bigger ones. But at the end of the day, it's just, I love helping people that actually want the help,
Mm,
right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
so
for
it's a good
sure.
feeling.
So that's important though, man, because like you look at peace. You know what I'm saying? You look like you're at peace. What's it like to not have the anxiety of worried about leads, worried about appointments, and ultimately like putting enough business on the board? You know what I mean? With a little bit of charge, but a good persistency rate. What's it like to just have a system for your business?
Dude, I haven't had that from the way I was doing it before, and I'm sure there's other people out there that have they figured it out, they're good, but like I've been in this business for, like I said, going on 5 years now, and like I had no structure and system like this to where for one the automation and the drip and what branding is doing is genius, and I love just even being exposed to that kind of, again, it's amazing that side of things. But I mean, before I was honestly just flying by the seat of my pants, man. Like it was just unorganized, and eventually it just got to a point where it was affecting, to be honest, mental health, physical. I mean, everything. It's just like if you don't have a grip on your business, and your business is the only way that helps make you money. So I don't have a part time job. This is what I do full time.
Mm,
So if I feel the business is kind of like shaky, where it's going, like it's okay now, but in 3 months from now, I'm like, what's it going to be like? Before it was kind of, it was very uncertain, right?
mm,
But this kind of gives more of a vision, more of predictability, and just mental peace, if you will.
yeah,
So it's been a lot better.
awesome, man. Well, I mean, everybody wants to know, since you went all in, right, and did what Todd and him do, what's your results been like since you gone all in?
um, I mean, since I went and it started to get to that lead spend. I mean, in the past, I got the numbers right here. Like in the past 3 weeks, going on a month, I mean, I've submitted well over 40. But
Wow.
and what's cool too, man, is like I've been tracking it too, and like these clients, I mean, I'm watching, and what I've been doing too is like one of the things that I've done to help persistency and make sure things issue. And before, like we there's a lot of instant decision carriers out there, right? Um, Even if they make an instant decision, I'll always tell them, I'm like, I'll call you back in, 4 or 5 hours. Usually I'll have a decision by then, for sure by tomorrow. But just save my numbers when I call you back. It's me, blah, 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 right? And I'll do that because I think a lot of times in the past, or even, when people just call somebody and they sell them an insurance policy, they get their social security number, banking, beneficiary, all this stuff. And then they just say you got approved. It just seems too easy, right? Where I like for them to be a little bit, if they can pick up the phone the second or third time I call them, they're gonna have that payment go through. And they know I'm their guy because they've heard my voice 3, 4 times now. So I've been watching it too. And I mean a lot of the stuff I've had like 1 or 2 chargebacks. So a lot of it's stuck and a lot of it will continue to. But another thing too, man, and I've learned this from, Adam and Todd and some of these guys, it's like they're selling a very competitive product too. And that's what I've started to do. Sell the most competitive product out there, for one,
Mm.
because if someone comes behind it, they can't beat it. So one of the things I started to do is I don't want people to replace my business by undercutting me on price, because I've already done the hard work, got the
Mm.
beneficiary, got their, so I mean, I got all that. I could, establish the need, know why they need it. So the last thing I want to do is for someone just to come and say, hey, I can get you this for $20 cheaper.
Right.
That's all I had to do was show up, right? So that's another big thing, to get things to stick. Because if you, again, like I mentioned before, man, even if you're writing a bunch of business and it doesn't stick, you're not writing a bunch of business, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Can you kind of elaborate on the whole competitive thing? Because I think that that's a gem, and there'll be people that'll go over their head. They're like, "What do you mean by selling the most competitive product?"
Well, I mean, like there are products out there that pay better, not not exposed to, like, not unaware of that fact, and I mean I'm pretty. I mean I'd like to, like, very. I look at that stuff. I know how products pay. I know certain age brackets, renewals, all that stuff, and I'm like it doesn't, even if you get paid more on a certain product and it ends up charging back, it doesn't matter because it charged back. I would rather get paid less for it to stick,
Mm.
right? And it's not like, I mean, and me personally, and I have several carrier contracts, and they're all A-rated companies. So either way you flip it, I mean, they're all big name reputable carriers. So then I've just started to look, especially with these veterans, man. These veterans have served our country, so I can serve them and I can put them in a good spot. And that's one thing I love about this program,
Yeah.
man,
Yes.
is
Yeah.
even just talking to these folks. Like, you can ask Catherine, hey, maybe one day she'll be on one of these. But I've always personally been like, I always just I've always loved veterans. Any chance I get to see a veteran, I like to go up to and just thank you for your service, even if it's at an airport, in a mall, restaurant. If they got a hat on and I can see them, go up and shake their hand for
Yes.
what these guys did for our country, and like just to be able to turn around and literally price shop for them and just get them in a good plan.
Yeah, man.
So
And that's one of the things. Also, is like when you start with this program specifically, it changes you a little bit. You start to become proud of the work that you're doing, and like in spite of the money, because you're helping people, and that's a game changer for you to get up every single day to fight. But now I have even bigger cause that you're proud of the people that you're helping. And I always say, if you don't like your business, change your clients. So when you guys wake up every single day and you can help somebody and feel great about that, be proud, go to bat for them to make sure you are putting their interests first. It stays on the books and you sleep well at night, man. That's priceless, right?
big time.
Yeah, for sure. So, man, there'll be people that'll watch this, right? That'll be like, this is kind of too good to be true, and I want to kind of to get your feedback on this, because since you went all in and you just wrote 40K in the last 2-3 weeks, realistically, how much have you had to pick up the phone since you went all in and increased your spend?
Um, well, pick up the phone to call appointments. Obviously, that's the main pick up the phone right now with me. But like, even a lot less. Okay. um, but like when I do have downtime, when I do have gaps in my schedule, I'm calling people that I need to follow up with, or even I'll do outbound if I have gaps in my schedule. For the most part, I mean, I'm pretty booked and I'm pretty busy,
Yeah.
which I love. It's like you show, because before I was, again, dude, just like a fart in the wind, if you will. You just show up and it just you like anything goes. You don't have that many leads to dial, or sometimes you do, but it's just like it's inconsistent. It's not predictable, and if that's your income, it's doesn't feel too good, and eventually that'll eat you alive, which it was starting to get to me when it's not predictable. So, yeah, to answer your question again, I mean, it's picking up the phone a lot. Last, I'm not saying that's why I did it, right? It's I'm still dialing the phone. I'm still dialing these people because, quite frankly, I mean, I just like to tell people what I've really learned from this is, and it's kind of been a revelation. It's like in insurance, life, health, whatever you're doing. If you're not casting, your net, you're not going
Mm,
to catch fish. And
right.
like with something like this, man, we have nets everywhere. We have lines everywhere, right? It's just always out there. So when people come back, because before I was manually texting, I was manually calling, manually leaving voice messages, and you can only do so much as a person. But when you have a system behind it that can cast hundreds, thousands of nets out there, dude, you're reaching a lot more people. You're giving yourself a lot more chances to actually have success.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
And so, how many appointments do you think on average as you walking into a day now, as opposed to before?
walking into today, like today, I mean, I like literally 15, 16, 18 appointments. Obviously, Mondays, Tuesdays are typically more heavy, but I would say average for sure 8 to 10
Yeah,
a
and
day.
that's the thing, man. So waking, looking on Sunday night, right? If you're watching the Heat, Denver game or whatever, right? Or obviously when the Chiefs are playing, you're probably watching the game, and you like sitting over there, and Mahomes just threw a no look touchdown, and you're going crazy, right, or something, or maybe maybe you're a Jets fan now, something, who knows? But and you look at your calendar and it's 10 on there, and you're like, okay, it's gonna be a good day. But by the time you wake up on to tomorrow, there's gonna be at least 6 to 8 more appointments on there. And now you're like, okay, cool. If your Monday's good, usually your week's gonna go well, just like kind of like your workout or your eating habits. So, you know, I can see the peace on your face. So now you're finally like, okay, I'm all in, and the system's all in. So 90 days, you're not gonna have to be worried about as long as you continue to go to work, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So yeah, man, there'll be some people, some agents that'll be looking at this and have looked online and were probably skeptical, just the same way you are, right? That are like, man, sounds too good to be true, right? And I'm sure you've probably watched one of these videos before, or some other agents that are kind of on the fence and looking to hop in on something like this. Like, man, is this Arturo dude legit? Does this program
Mhm.
actually really work? What would you kind of say to that?
Yeah, I get it. I get the skepticism, but also just me personally, just personal experience. I mean, I've done pretty much everything out there, life insurance wise. I've done Facebook, I've done internet leads, I've done live transfers, I've done direct mail mortgage, direct mail final expense, mail drops, like, and I've seen a lot of agents come and go, right? I've seen what agents do that have success. They're writing between actually making money in this business. I mean, between 20 and 40 a month, right? And obviously, what does it take to get there? 5 to 10 in lead spend. And if you can do it in less, awesome. Like keep doing what you're doing. But most people, that's kind of the range. So and then I kind of like reverse engineered almost, and it's like, okay, what is your actual source, and what are your systems to get you there? To me, this makes sense. Like it doing what I was doing before it was a very slow, painful death, quite frankly. Like I could just feel it slowly going backwards. And this kind of, no, not kind of, this definitely reestablished my belief in my ability to sell life insurance and, continue doing what I'm doing, at the level I've done it before. Last year at the dinner, I mean, I helped over 450 families, and that was all direct mail, maybe a little bit of Facebook, right? Just some random vendors out there. But just the amount of work and honestly stress of dealing with just that type of business, it kind of got to me, man. So this has been a weight off my shoulders, I would say. And I can actually kind of think and have peace and enjoy it.
Yeah. Well,
But yeah,
shout out to you and tell Catherine she gets the MVP for telling you that she believes in you and that you need to go all in. So she gets the MVP. And Tyler, man, thanks for hopping on and more importantly sticking in there and just kind of believing in the system and trusting on the other guys that were kind of ahead of you, that it was working for you until it worked for you, because it's definitely paying off, and I'm sure that it's going to pay off even more in the future as these things start to compound. So thanks for hopping on and thanks for sharing your story.
you got it, man. Thank you. Appreciate you.
For sure. Awesome, guys. So if you found this video helpful, go ahead and click the like button and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you'd like some results like this, you can go to ArturoJohnsonConsulting.com /schedule to book a call with myself or somebody from my team so that you can have an automated and predictable system in your business. Again, we'll see you in the next call. All right, take care.